A practitioner uses thought definitely and for specific purposes, and the more definitely he uses the law, the more directly will it respond to him. Well, that's a lot of words. He goes on to say, while it is true that wrong conditions exist, they could not remain unless they were in someone's experience. That kind of answers the question, the philosophical question of, if a tree falls in the forest and there's nobody there to hear it, is it making any noise? Well, that's how it works. If the conditions in your life would not be real if you're not saying they're real. If you're not there to experiencing them. So consequently, the experience must be in your consciousness. So you change your consciousness and you change the conditions, and the conditions will disappear. Conditions are not entities. We are entities. The conditions are not real. We are real. So knowing that we must change our consciousness in order to change the conditions, here is how you use it. I'll paraphrase an example that Dr. Holmes has in the book, which is very good. And it goes like this. I'll kind of put it in my own words. So a person finds himself broke or poor and in lack. He's attended several CSL churches, taken some classes, so he knows that this is not the spiritual truth. This is not the ultimate reality. Spirit imposes no limitation on his being. So his apparent limited condition is not supported by the law because it's not real. It is simply an experience of consciousness. So first he realizes that the laws of life and is the law of freedom. So now he states that the law of freedom is flowing through him and into all of his affairs. But wait, the image of his limitations continue. His ego says, you're still broke. So here is a definite contradiction in the statements of his freedom. So what does he do? Well, he stops, quiets his ego mind, and declares these images, these ideas to be false. These appearances of poverty and lack, these conditions are all false beliefs. This doesn't mean that his wallet or his checking account is not nearing empty. What it does mean is that he needs to stop focusing on the negative. He needs to stop focusing on what he doesn't have. He needs to shake off the false belief of lack and turn to the spiritual truth and declare it and believe it. The spiritual truth is that God is his source. Only God. He lives in the universe teeming with abundance and is continuously showering him with all that he needs to live the life that he chooses. He is open to receive from areas that he has not even considered. He needs to fill his thoughts with ideas of faith, the expectancy of good and the realization of plenty. He senses and mentally sees right action in all of his life. He puts his whole trust in the law of good, and it becomes very real to him as he definitely speaks it into being, into his being, and into the being of all his affairs. He denies anything and everything that contradicts his realization of this truth. Now, these words of Ernest Holmes, they're not easy for a novice to kind of capture and just go through them. But your words don't need to be beautiful prose. You start where you are. Start with simple, meaningful affirmations. Something that you can get into, something that you believe. Then practice, practice, practice. Ernest Holmes himself says you only need to believe 51%. Right? It's true. And you have to be ready to receive. You have to be open to receive and open your hands to receive. You cannot receive with a closed fist. So you need to set all of those emotions aside and just focus on what it is that you want to receive. So this is how you use it, not only for lack or for any, but you can use it for any condition in your life. Some of you know how to do this, and this is good. Some of you may not know how to do this. You may want to start by talking to a practitioner. Then perhaps sign up for some classes or workshops. Learn how to do affirmative prayer. I guess I should put a plug in for my class here. So, yeah, if you want to learn how to create life-changing affirmations, then sign up for a workshop. It's only 3 hours long, and you will walk away a changed person. And that is going to be on February the 24th. Yep, February 24th from 9 in the morning until 12. So some of you may say, I know how to do this, but I just can't shake off that feeling of lack or animosity, loneliness or sickness or whatever it is. Well, this is when you need to call a practitioner. This is when you need to sit down with a practitioner and talk about that. If you're having difficulty getting through this, passing through it. A practitioner can help you see what you cannot see. He or she can help you affirm your spiritual truth and get you moving in that right direction. From time to time, even practitioners need practitioners. Because we're so close to our own problem that we're blinded by it. And we just need a little push. We need to be able to see something different. So that's when we speak to one of our colleagues, another practitioner, and to have them help us see the truth for us and to open our eyes. It's kind of interesting because normally when that happens, you have this aha moment like, oh, geez, I knew that. But I just couldn't get past it, So from time to time, we all need help to clean out those core beliefs in our subconscious that may be blocking us from realizing the spiritual truth of the situations in our life. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Joni, and she is going to address those very things for us. Thank you.
And good morning. I'm here, first of all, to give you a little plug. We have 2 new Science of Mind books in the bookstore. And I brought mine. I now have several sitting over here because I brought mine thinking I might need it this morning. And I got an immediate from Sherry Line Coyle saying, oh, would you mind talking about these new books it's just a new cover. Different pages, by the way, Andy. So if you are looking for some additional support, I highly recommend those. They're really good ones. And as we've said, I'm kind of the wrap-up for the first 4 chapters now. We've talked about the first 4 chapters, how it works, what it is, all of that sort of stuff. Now it's how to use it. I want to talk about 2 particular things this morning out of that last part. And you need to know, you've seen these various practitioners here in the last few weeks. We're all different. If there are any 2 people that are different, Randy Tankoff and I are so different. Really? Randy and I finished, I think we were the last 2 women standing in 2014 for our practitioner training. Randy describes herself, so I'm not doing this out of school. Randy describes herself sort of as the aging hippie. I've been described as the professor type. I'm an educator. What can I tell you? So you get PowerPoints today. How about that? I mean, it's what I do. But we are different. So understand that how you use it, it's it. It doesn't matter who uses it. It's whoever uses it. Randy uses it differently than I do. We have other practitioners. Choose someone that matches with you and that listens and can hear you and can give back to you what you need. Now, there are two things that I wanted to talk about this morning. And the first one being, if this hasn't gone to sleep, which it may. Oh, look at there. Oh, isn't that nice? It's working. So, the first one is on page 58. You will take out of treatment only as much as you believe is in it. If you believe that there's a thimbleful, you get a thimbleful. I'm not very wealthy. I have some money. Or if you believe there's an ocean full, you'll get an ocean full. It depends on what you believe. When I finished my practitioner work, I wasn't ready to be a practitioner, and I knew that. I had more than a thimble, maybe a bucket. After a lot of practice, I bet I have a pond. I know there's an ocean. So the whole point is you will get only as much as you believe. So my job is to try and help you as a practitioner believe as much as you possibly can believe. So when I do that, I have to look at beliefs. I have to go back and look at where those beliefs came from. At least I have had to do so for me. Where did I get those beliefs? Why do I believe the way I do? Sometimes it comes from my childhood. Sometimes it's so unconscious that I don't even know that it existed. I'm going to tell a story. Some of you may have heard, those of you that have taken my brain class may have heard this. How many of you like jelly beans? Nancy Gimbel, I expect your hand to go up. And the idea is when I was, and I won't ask how many don't like jelly beans, but I have a disaffinity for jelly beans because when I was a child, I got one stuck right here. I turned blue. I turned a dark shade of blue. My dad reached out down my throat and popped it out. I had a disaffinity for jelly beans for a very long time. That was my belief, that jelly beans were bad, they were dangerous, they were scary, they would hurt children. So my children never got jelly beans at Easter. Chocolate rabbits we got, not jelly beans. But I know that I can change my thinking. Thank you, science of mind. So I don't have to believe that jelly beans are that way based on one particular incident. Now, sometimes it's not one particular incident. Sometimes it's an ongoing incident or an ongoing event that's happening in your life. I want to do a real quick little video here that I have used before. I used it at the National Association for the Education of Young Children, and what I heard was, ooh. So I'm going to ask you to just watch it. It's less than a minute and a half, and see if you get an ooh.
Good job, Alex. You're doing a good job. Go. Go straight. You're holding well. That's a good job.
Has he finished? Why do you watch? You sure you got that?
Again.
Mom, you sure?
Name of them.
Be careful, Alex. Be careful. Don't fall. You don't see where you're going? If you don't go straight, you're gonna fall. Don't drop the water.
That's it. Ouch. And there's no intent on anyone's part. There was no intent on anyone's part to be bad, just to keep the child safe. But notice the way the child reacted. Ouch. The belief is there, and the belief sometimes is laid on you when you're just young, 2 years old and a jelly bean. Be careful, don't fall, walk straight. We don't even know it, and so at this age, we may get triggered by something inadvertently. But the good news is, from Science of Mind, you can change your thinking. Ernest Holmes clearly said, change your thinking, change your life. Thank you very much for that. And doing all of my brain work and all of that stuff that you hear that I do, neuroplasticity says the same thing. You can create new neural nets. I can't tell you how grateful I am for that kind of thinking. Last week when Randy was here, she was talking about Karen Carpenter. You remember that? Karen Carpenter and Karen Carpenter's music and how wonderful she was. She sang with her son, her brother, Richard, and they did great stuff. I live down the road from Disneyland where they got started, and she was kind of a contemporary, a little younger than I am. However, Karen and I had more in common than that. Karen was anorexic, so was I. If you take this body, and you've all seen me, and you take 45 pounds off of this body. I weighed about 80-something pounds at one point in my life, and I was this tall. If I hadn't been able to change my thinking, I would not have been able to change my life. Thank you for that, because it is a change in belief. I would have left my song on the table as well. There wouldn't have been 4 children. There wouldn't have been the ability for me to do some of the work that I did. Judy's husband knows about that because I was his boss for a very long time. I couldn't have done it. I wouldn't have been here. Karen Carpenter was somewhat of a model for me because I didn't want to do that. But what does it take to make that happen? Well, it takes, as Andy has said, it takes practice. You got to believe differently, and you got to practice. And you got to and did I mention you have to practice? And there are all kinds of ways to practice. So it's sort of up to you how you choose that practice. And one of the things that us practitioners do is try to provide you other alternatives and ways to do that. And the church does the same, the center does the same thing. Gandhi's movie, classes, all kinds of things that you can do so that you can learn affirmations and treatments and meditations and mindfulness and other ways of doing stuff. Because we don't all learn the same way, and we don't all get it the same way, and we don't all have the same beliefs. So sometimes we need different ways to practice. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about just for a second, and Andy alluded to it, is that the practitioner helps you to remove the hurdles. He mentioned ego. Ego really gets in the way sometimes. Oh, yes, I know all about abundance. However, I don't think I can do that, nor do I deserve that job, and I'm not good enough. Wow, is that ever ego stuff? And we don't even know that sometimes. But it's blockades, it's hurdles that we put in our own way. And for the practitioner, our job is to help you remove that and to know truth for you. What's the truth for you? Who are you? The truth for you is that you are whole and complete and perfect. You have to be. You are part of God's plan. So you can't be anything else other than that. So I have to get out of the way, and I have to help you get out of the way so that you can know truth. You can know what is real. That's what we want to be able to do. Also in the book, it talks about law, which Andy mentioned. Law is the mind in action. It is you. It is what you believe in. It's back to that belief system again. Whatever goes into that subjective mind, that little boy, whatever went into that subjective mind, he's going to outpicture. That little boy is now 60 years old. He's still going to outpicture that unless he's changed it. And the law says for you, yes, Yoda, whatever you want. show you one thing. The law says it, and so does brain science say it. It says yes. Your brain will not say to you, the law will not say to you, that's not good for you to eat. That's not good for you to drink. That's not good for you to have. That's not healthy for you. It will say, yes, Yoda, whatever you want. So what conditions are you willing to put in your mind? What are you willing to tell yourself? What have you been telling yourself? For the last year or so, I've had to look at all of that and go back through and say, what have I told myself? Some of it's not too good. Others is, oh, wow, I'm going to keep telling myself that. I can choose today. That's the one thing that we're given. We're given free will. We get to choose today to think differently. Isn't that good news? Yes, I heard that, yes. It is good news because the law will say whatever you want. It's like a bobblehead. Whatever you want. Yes, okay. And we'll give you that. So I'm going to tell you that I really appreciate being kind of the tail end of the dog here that allows me to talk about those first 4 chapters with you and listen to other people talk about it, other practitioners. Our thanks for allowing us to do this and hopefully for getting to know us better and who we are. And as you're sitting out there going, yeah, I could use some practitioner help, and that person fits me better than maybe that person. We're not offended by that at all. We use it because that's what we do. We're all about using it. We may be different, but it isn't. It's consistent. It's still there. So we're here to support you any way we can. Now, I know that sometimes the town crier, you kind of get a little antsy sometimes when the town crier goes and tells you all these different things. But what it is support for you. We're trying to give you the support you need so that you will have different avenues, different ways of looking at anything that's going on around the center. So it's there. So please ask us, because that's why we're here. And because we're part of that law in action, we'll say yes. So here's a little info to support you. I told you I had Andy's slide, and I do. So for any of you that want to do something on affirmations, Andy Turenne is going to do a class on that on February 24th. If you're interested in more about the brain, which I teach, the Brain Circle is available the first Monday of every month. And we've gotten a variety of people that are coming through, and we just talk about the brain and how it works. And it's specifically about how your thinking works. So I think that's an additional support for you. So, but again, we're here to support you. We're here to give you what we can of what we know. By the way, just so you know, there are jelly beans on the table in there. That's another support for you because you can change your thinking. So to finish up, I did want to tell you one thing so nobody would be surprised by it. A couple of people have asked me about it. I've been on the board here for the last, 6 or 7 years I was on the board here. I am now running for CSL board, so that's the international board, and my name is on there. I was interviewed this week for that, and they were just vetting to see if I was okay, I think. But so far it looks like I'm okay. We'll see. But I just want you to know, so if somebody says something to you, you wouldn't be surprised and go, what are you talking about? Because somebody asked me this last week, and I went, oops, we haven't told you that. So let me finish up with a treatment, because that's really what we as practitioners do. So would you just kind of get comfortable in your chairs and know that you can accept what you can believe, and also know that I'm here as a practitioner to remove barriers. So I will do it in the first person. So if you'll just kind of get comfortable and close your eyes, if you choose, and join me. And in the first step, I just know that there is only one source, one infinite wisdom, whatever I call it, whether it's divine intelligence, whether it's source, whether it's God, whether it's Yahweh, it doesn't matter. It is it. It is the thing that I'm a part of. I am completely unified, step 2, with that is. And knowing that, then I know for myself and for everyone that we're all perfect, we're all whole, we all complete as we are, different that we may be, whoever we may be, however we show up. We're perfect just the way we are today. So knowing my wholeness, knowing my divineness, knowing my right action, because I remove the barriers and see myself as part of God's kingdom, then I can know how grateful I am. And so with a great deal of gratitude about everything, as John was saying this morning, it's that leaf, it's that breeze, it's where I live in that ministry by the creek. It is all of that I am grateful for every single minute of every day. And in knowing that, I can release my word, knowing that it is already true and already so. And we can say together, and so it is. And the practitioners, thank you for joining us for the first 4 chapters. And hopefully you will have seen enough of us to know that we are available, maybe when we're not praying for food trucks, but that we are truly available for any of you at any point in time. Thank you.